Welcome to the Authority File. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. In this 4-episode series sponsored by Sage Publishing, my guests and I will be discussing how libraries are creatively supporting faculty and students in their remote teaching and research. Our guests will describe how they quickly adjusted to and expanded their remote learning environments as COVID-19 spread across the country last spring. We'll also look at how those changes evolved as they moved to the summer and began to plan for the fall, and I use this term loosely, reopening. Plans that include new approaches to customer service, reconfiguring physical spaces, and developing easier remote access to library services and resources. Joining me are Linda Van Kuren, Assistant Dean for Access and Resource Management at Georgetown University, Sally Gibson, Library Director at Missouri Western State University, Kat McGrath, Renewals and Collections Librarian at the University of British Columbia. In this second episode of our 4-part series, our guests explain their plans for the fall opening and what their library's ongoing role will be in providing support, instruction, and services to their campus communities. All right, so kind of continuing along our sort of timeline here, I want to sort of move into talking about the fall and what that will look like. And I know some of you have already alluded to things that you're doing or have been doing in terms of planning for the fall and getting ready for the fall. But I'm wondering if you can kind of tie those plans up into what might something you might be able to describe as an opening plan, so to speak, and for the fall semester. And Linda, why don't we start with you for that?
Yes, we remain closed at the moment, and we have been since March. And so our reopening plans continue to evolve.
Yeah.
Our research at the university that was paused for the last few months is just restarting now. And I'm sure we'll learn a lot of lessons from that process that will inform our choices for the library. The students have been given a choice of all virtual or a hybrid environment. And so right now the library staff is focused on finalizing the plans for the physical facility, taking in the information that's been provided to us by the university and the local health authorities.
Okay. Sally?
So the students, they've got a variety of offerings. It can be online, hybrid, face-to-face. And I anticipate that we'll have less students on campus because I think a lot of them will have online classes and then they won't come to campus because they'll just stay home. So we're going with the assumption that there'll be less people on campus. And then for the library, we're not calling it a closed stack, but we're kind of doing a closed stack model. Well, we'll build a book for them. So we're kind of calling it enhanced service. Tell us what you want and we'll pull it for you, and then we'll have it ready for you to pick it up at the circulation desk. And then we're continuing the curbside pickup if someone feels more comfortable that way. With the intent is to we're kind of looking at how retail stores are acting, where they kind of want you to come in and get what you need and then leave as soon as possible. And so for that extent, we're like circulation and different library services, where if they can come in, they can get what they need, and then they can leave the building, is kind of what we're working towards. And then we're going to have them start with chat for all reference transactions. So if they've got a reference question, even if you're in the building, you need to start with chat. So I think that's going to be different. And, people tend to be polite. And so it's going to feel a little awkward where they need to start with chat rather than talking to the person.
Right.
But that's what we're going to try to move towards, is kind of, the less interaction with people as possible is what we're working with.
Yeah, Sally, I'm curious, based on what you've just described, it's sounding like, folks, in order to sort of expedite, I guess, those resource requests, it sounds like they sort of need to know what they need before they come in to get it. So the whole idea of arriving at the library or poking around and sort of that serendipitous discovery of a resource or a journal article or whatever, that kind of research tactic may not work, anymore for the time being.
And they kind of need to, we have more ebooks or as many ebooks as we do with the physical books. So they need to start in the catalog anyway or with our discovery service
Mm-hmm.
because that's where you're going to find most of the resources. So
True.
the walking around and kind of peeking at the physical collection doesn't really get you everything that we have to offer
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it is a different mindset and we cannot physically close the stacks because we've got study rooms around. So they will, if they want, they can walk in, but we're just kind of encouraging them to, not do that. And we've also found that this spring we had more people. We had some pretty animate people who were never going to use an ebook, and now they only want an ebook. They don't want to
Oh, there you
touch
go.
the physical collection at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of the nope. We wanted an ebook.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So, Kat, how about you? What's the fall opening plan looking like?
I think one of the sort of central pieces is our liaison librarians and having them involved in, whether it's asking for resources, asking for help for using content, or application experts, as I mentioned about some of the services that we offer through our research commons, and really partnerships between different service units, both within the library and the campus. So embedded in our Sally mentioned that they use Canvas, so links within there to peer tutors who support our undergraduate students, tied in with our writing center, scholarly communications office to give guidance around open scholarship and our open collections. We have a syllabus service that helps faculty get all of their course readings listed online and within the Canvas environment. So really building on the network that we have within the library itself, and then with these other application partners on campus. I think we're seeing great success there.
Excellent. Good. I'm curious. A couple of you now have mentioned sort of the options that students have in terms of deciding what kind of learning environment they want to participate in, whether it's distance learning, or some institutions, while they may be offering face-to-face classes, they're also providing some sort of option where if students don't want to participate in a face-to-face, they can choose an online environment. And I'm wondering if that's kind of what's going on at your institutions, and how you're able to support that. Are you kind of waiting to see what students decide as you get closer to fall, and then kind of adjusting on the fly according to the services you might provide depending on those learning environments? And Linda, I'll just kind of throw this out to you for now.
Yes, we needed to wait and to see what the students were doing, and we just are getting that information now.
Right.
And so we are making decisions based on the number of students that have indicated that they want some on-campus face-to-face interactions. Our faculty have worked really hard to create a robust virtual environment that's the equivalent of a in-person experience. And so for any students that require that or wish for that, they can participate in that. And so we are, as we've just gotten that information, now we are finalizing our plans for the physical facility. Again, trying to keep in mind all of the health requirements and capacity requirements that we are being asked to follow. We had a gate count or number of visitors of 1,000 a day prior to COVID. And we anticipate that when we reopen, we'll only be able to have about 25% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are making adjustments to our plans as we speak, now that we've just found out what our students are doing.
Right. Okay. Sally, Kat, what are you sort of approaching this in a similar manner?
I'd say yes.
Yeah.
We're going to treat every student like they're a distance student. So we already had that in place. So just kind of making sure that the students are aware of the resources and and the new student orientation will have that. We'll have videos and kind of a virtual experience, so that kind of move away from the in-person ideas that we had in the past.
Okay. And Kat, same.
Yeah, very much the same. I mean, I think we've got a target of 30% capacity for the campus, which is up to 90,000 people in the fall. So it's a much reduced footprint for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'm anecdotally, over the last few months, I've talked to other librarians who are indicating that they're having to plan, or they were having to plan. I don't know if it's the case any longer, but for several different scenarios, because everything, like we've mentioned, is so fluid and it changes from week to week. And so I'm wondering if any of you had to plan for several different scenarios, whether for summer programming or even for this fall, and if so, what were some of those plans, and how did you pull all those together? And Linda, I'll start with you on that one.
Yes, as we've all said, it's very fluid, and so we have been doing different scenario plannings. At this point, we plan to basically continue most of our services and collections and instruction virtually. A number of our staff have been involved in some of the national and international library groups that are examining considerations for the physical environment reopening. And so we've been taking the information and the different examples of phased opening from those groups and using it to inform our group. But it has been so rapidly changing. So, for one example, we circulate non-print things such as headphones and anatomical models and iPads, and we are continually looking for best practices for cleaning those materials. And as the guidelines for cleaning and as the availability of cleaning supplies has changed, we keep updating our own internal scenarios for how we might resume circulating those materials. And we do not have a final decision on those even today. So it does keep changing in every aspect of our services.
Right. And Sally?
I'd say we're like Linda. We've got to be flexible. So
yeah,
we don't necessarily have different scenarios. And like Linda, we've been learning from others what worked, what didn't work, and then someone will bring up something that you haven't even thought of, and you realize, oh yeah, I need to address that situation. So kind of thinking of different options and what we need to do, like the group study rooms. We'll have them open and you can reserve them but they're at reduced capacity. But we're also saying if we have to monitor those rooms and kind of tell people, no, you have too many people, that we will just close them. So kind of we want to see how things go and know that throughout the semester maybe things will be reduced or available, kind of depending on what's working and what isn't.
Yeah. One thing that's occurring to me, and Kat, I'll direct this to you to start. Is I'm just wondering how all of you are feeling about these changes. I mean, they're very dramatic. In terms of your customer service abilities are hampered in a way. Obviously, you're losing your physical space to some degree. What is sort of moving away from sort of the in-person services and instruction? How is that kind of making you feel? And Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's a great question, Bill. And I was just reviewing one of the guiding principles for fall 2020 that our teaching services has crafted, and certainly one of the themes that they stress is having compassion and kindness. I mean, those are what we hear from our health authority as well about how to approach all this. And even though there's so much focus about everything being online, finding some ways for some offline time and including your learning and kind of experience in that too. I find it immensely ironic that we were just actually about to launch a Zoom pilot service within the library for, we were actually doing, it was part of a climate change action initiative within the library. So we wanted to experiment with this innovative tool, and then kaboom, we have an institutional license. And man, if I didn't have another Zoom meeting, I'd be really happy for a day, so it's going to be interesting, when people thought, okay, I can do this for a month, and now we're into 6 months and we're looking at much longer.
Mm-hmm.
It will be interesting. And I think, as Sally described, there's been folks who basically have, they're still getting their shopping delivered, let alone trying to imagine going out into an environment where you've got hundreds of strangers around you. It's just unfathomable, really.
Right. And then Linda, how about you? What are some of the feelings and thoughts going through your mind?
Right. Very similar to Kat's. I would say the one comfort that I have is that if there's anything librarians and library staff know how to do is handle change. I feel like libraries are constantly in a state of change. And so we kind of have the muscle memory to react. We're reacting much, much faster than perhaps any of us would have liked, but I am continually impressed by the people I work with in their ability to pivot very quickly into this new environment. And, it's not just true of the library, it's true of our faculty, our information technology department, and the students. And so in some ways, it's been incredibly impressive to watch everyone work towards this common goal of continuing their education and supporting them.
Right. Sally, are you sort of in the same vein there?
Yeah, I think, I've been the library director for 4 years, and I was really focused on bringing people in the library, having it be a place where they felt they could be and hang out, and, having open seating. And so that has completely changed, because now we're kind of like, please don't stay here very long. Please move along. And so I think that's hard. So I hope that this is just a temporary blip. But I do agree with Linda. I think the library on campus, we have proven that we were able to pivot and we were ready to go. And when the university administration talks, they talk about the library is fully functioning. And we were really kind of shown as one of the departments that was able to handle this rapid change, and our customer service did not suffer. It was different, but we still have that high standard of getting the students what they need, and we were able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. You just heard from Linda Van Kuren, Assistant Dean for Access and Resource Management at Georgetown University, Sally Gibson, Library Director at Missouri Western State University, Kat McGrath, Renewals and Collections Librarian at the University of British Columbia. This series is brought to you by Sage Publishing. Join us next week when we continue our conversation and discuss what, so far, has been working, what hasn't, and the ways in which libraries are pushing resources and services to the point of need.
Well, we're aware of the uncertainty, so all of our spending, there's talking about positions, that there hasn't been any positions lost, but there hasn't been any positions gained during this period as well, even though there may be some needs identified. And I think just to follow up on the library has responded to the service requirements. I just have to say again, we do get a lot of demand on our print collections, and trying to figure out ways of accessing that and providing access to that is going to be the focus for some time.
If you like what you hear, rate us or give us a review on your podcast platform of choice. And if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, drop me a line. I'm at bmickey@ala-choice.org. As always, sponsorship and advertising for the Authority File podcast are handled by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced by Choice's senior digital media producer, Mark Dirks, and digital media assistant, Sabrina Kofer. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.